Right. I've had volunteer editors at first, and then gradually start paying something, and and I remember the my first like lengthy book, Bert Farias's brother edited for me,
Hmm.
and I remember taking like weeks before giving it to him, just going over it and over it again until I was sick of it, and even then, it's like still almost like a mess for him to like he's sending it back to me with like few hundred markups and notes and even there might not be errors, but there's like this sentence makes no sense or something, or this do you mean this when you're writing that? And
Yeah.
there was a lot of feedback like that, not necessarily errors. I mean, I'm still learning the wonderful world of commas in my writing, but you can feel like, oh, no, this is good. I've spent weeks working on it. It's edited. What are you talking about? But then and I've put an email address in the front of all my self-published books so that people could contact me if they find errors, and like you know I regret that, and I'm glad I did it at the same time because then I had like maybe a dozen emails the first week or two a book is published. So I've learned the hard way as I've gone about that. But I tell people all the time that you need someone to edit. If you can't spend much money, do whatever you can to put the money towards getting somebody to edit it.
Yeah, and again, not only will you grow as an author doing it, but it will make your message more credible.
Right.
Look, just think if somebody writes to you and they misspell all the words, it makes them seem like they're not educated or they don't know what they're talking about. It'd be like me trying to say something in broken Spanish. I'm going to sound like a little child with a bad accent.
Right.
And but no matter how smart I might be, if I knew a few, trying to communicate with a few words of Spanish, I sound very silly to everybody. I remember I was in Korea one time, and there was one guy always smiling. It was my first trip there. It was 1990. He was always smiling and speaking very broken English. And so I just kind of pegged him to be this very nice, smiley guy that wasn't that bright because of the conversations we'd have. Then during a Q&A, after one of my sessions, he asked a question through a translator, and it was this deep, philosophical, profound question. I thought, yikes! I didn't realize that it was just the guy's limited English. It wasn't his limited understanding or his limited thinking power. So we don't want to work hard on a message that the Lord's given us, and just like people want the cover to look a certain way, if the cover looked cheap or chintzy or something like that, you're going to have a certain impression. Well, the same way, if a book's not properly edited, for many people, it's a distraction. And for others, it just makes the author look less credible. And then there'll be times when Nancy will say to me, this is no good. I said, what do you mean? She said, the whole way it starts is no good. And I'm a little offended, like, well, what do you mean? I mean, I worked hard on this. And she said, look at it. You're the author, look at it. And then I'll go back. It's like, oh, now I see your point. And I'll rewrite the opening paragraph. She goes, perfect. That's it. But I didn't see it until someone else looked at it. It's just like on a test I would give at school years ago. If it was, say, a true or false test, and there would be one question that half of the class would get wrong, even the best students, I'd look at it and realize, the question was ambiguous. I didn't see it like that. So the editing is really important, really helps. And do the thing right. If you're going to do it right. No shortcuts. And yes, by the time you're done with it, you do get a little bit sick of it because you've written it. And then for me, I've gone over every chapter, every page over and over and over and over again because I keep sharpening it, looking at it, sharpening it, looking at it, sharpening it, looking at it. Then you send it to the publisher. Then the editor sends it back. And now you've got to interact with all the editorial changes that have been requested. So sometimes it's real easy, but otherwise you got to read through your whole thing yet again, and then you send it back, and then they have it laid out on what's called the galley. So this is the final way it's going to look, and it's gone to the final proofreaders, and they say, all right, give it one more shot. Just make sure we didn't miss anything. At that point, you're kind of speed reading it because
Right.
you want to be excited when the book comes out. You're almost bored by it because you've been over and over and over it. But in the end, you've got what you want.